hell lot of training modules, internal, and this one, and we assure, plus after the training there is a complete verification process. There is a group assessors who assess and then certify, yes, the person is competent for that particular role and responsibility. Looking at the whole cycle then, yes, subsequently at the end, is as far as the board is concerned, they look at, okay, what has been the performance overall of this one. Business ultimately need to receive, have to have this one. Now the safety focus comes, as I said, what has been the safety performance of each business unit. That is being reviewed. That is from the ground level, as I said, with the various governing councils, plant level, site level, at the central level, and then of course in the board. So that gives us, okay, yes, it is not only the profit part of it, plus the safety performance, both are equally important. Okay. And we set it that way, yes, PACA, procedures are there, competency is there, accountability is there, and assurance is there.
Good, thank you. Mr. Tanwar, you work for a large diversified business, Tata Group. It's spread out in various industries, locations, a number of different projects going on at any time, I would imagine. How do you keep the focus on employee safety with so much going on?
Yeah, so at a very macro level, we have a common policy which sets out very clearly what are the expectations from the employees and from the management and senior leaders and everyone else as far as safety is concerned. So we have two kind of approach. One is that there are some common things that every company in the group must do, should do. So that's based on the policy and the health and safety management system that we're trying to come out with. And the second one is we divide our sort of group with 96 odd companies into various clusters. So there's a cluster of infrastructure, there's a cluster of services, of IT, a cluster of materials, engineering. So based on that, then we address safety with this cluster, and we have sort of identify people with whom we interact and see that the approach that is taken is kind of uniform for that particular cluster, because for a retail cluster and for infrastructure cluster it will be different. So that's the kind of approach that we take.
Sure.
So okay. This is how we are doing it.
Thank you. All right, I'd like to move down, Mr. Venki. What's your perspective on some of the possible solutions that UL has found in integrating safety into overall business operations?
Ours is a rather mild atmosphere as a test lab. So for the purpose of answering the question that you posed, I would like to bring in the experience that we have with our thousands of customers in India who are all manufacturing organizations. What we see is that there are two priorities that we need to be looking at. One is, of course, the top management visibility, and I think it's already been highlighted earlier, so I'm not touching upon that. I would like to go to the second point of communication. Communication with the employees, contractors, and the supply chain that's very dominant in almost every sector today. When our realization is that if we train them, if we put posters up, it's not enough, because that's being done. So how do we communicate in a far deeper way? How do we raise this as an issue for discussion almost every other day? How do we start every meeting with reminding ourselves that we are a safety company, safety mission is our sole mission. So how do we remind ourselves about this every day? That's what we are working on, that we are sometimes struggling with. So have we been successful? I don't think so. We have a lot of distance to cover. But ours is internally at least a mild atmosphere. The single biggest challenge that we have is in the area of road safety. So that's what we are wrestling with the maximum.
Okay. That's something that we continue to hear. Thank you. Ms. Budworth, again, you're in a different industry. How do you see the importance of this issue of integrating safety into your overall business process, and how do you communicate it to your clients?
Well, I think it's about competence, actually. I think it's about competence of managers as well as competence of safety professionals. I think managers need to be accountable for the health and safety of the operations that they run alongside their other responsibilities. But I think they need some training, some qualifications to actually know how they actually go about that with a qualified safety professional in the organisation as a resource to ask. And there is actually hard evidence that shows if you've got qualified managers or managers with a safety qualification rather than simply training, so you've actually done some assurance of their level of understanding and their level of ability in health and safety, that it actually makes a measurable performance difference. One of the other things that I heard from an organisation that we work with was that the CEO of that organisation, when any time any of his divisional managers went in to see him, he'd got behind his desk on the wall the safety performance of each of their units. So as they walked in to see him, first of all, he was visibly demonstrating that it was a very dear value to him, but they could also see how they did against the other divisions. And there's nothing like a bit of competition to focus the mind.
Great story. Thank you very much. We're going to move on. We only have a few minutes left in the program. But one of the questions we have, safety and health professionals want to achieve excellence in safety and not just compliance with the law. What advice do you have on moving towards safety excellence and getting beyond just compliance? And maybe not so much, again, for your organizations, because you may be at a higher level than some of the organizations who are being represented by people here today. And maybe we'll ask each of the panelists to answer that question about moving beyond safety excellence and getting beyond just compliance. What advice would you have for the people in our audience today who maybe don't work for an organization that has a CEO with safety performance statistics right behind his desk? And Mr. Murladhar, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, as I've been telling you, the communication and awareness has become a very, very important role in changing the social fabric itself. Electronic media and print media are very, very popular in our country, okay, especially electronic media. And what I think out of the box is most of the multinationals or the industry heads and should actually sponsor the programs on safety on television and also in the print media. And that might give a lot of awareness, because the electronic media viewership is huge. And today, if you just switch on any channel, and you will only find somebody divorced somebody, and so what's the issue? And the major issues of the nation is not at all televised, telecasted. Anything good happens also is not telecasted. Anything bad happens is more in news. So that we have to prevent. Actually you are making the society much more worse than actually giving them tips or safety measures, and whether it is a road safety or whether it's a home safety or even the building safety, or there's nothing that it's been there, and you have to actually, a lot of awareness has to be brought in through the electronic and through the print media.
Okay, thank you. I think that bell means we're running out of time, but I do want to give each of you a chance to answer this question about moving towards safety excellence and advice you would give to our audience. So,
I would like to share two of my thoughts. The first one is the level of self-esteem that we should have about our own profession. We should be very proud about what we are doing, because we are not just counting set of numbers or laying down some processes. We are contributing to the profits. That's number one. Second is, from an India context, I would like to even add that as safety professionals, we should be slightly get angry. By that I mean, when things do go wrong, we can't just be taking it lying down. We should be slightly angry and pass it to the CEO and relate it to the profits and the CFO. That's what I would like to say.
Okay, thank you. Good message.
And I'd actually like to pick up on that point, because in my experience, there are things which motivate organisations to move towards a better health and safety performance, to move towards excellence, is when something goes wrong. And you should never waste a good crisis. It needs to be made a fuss of and actually dealt with. But the second thing I would say is that I think we as safety professionals owe it to the people that we protect to be the best safety professionals that we can be. And the frustration that a lot of organisations have is that safety professionals don't communicate very effectively with senior managers. We need to develop our own communication skills so that we're able to make the business case for a great safety performance, which actually underpins profitability and controlling loss in an organisation.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Kumar.
Well, I mean, we at Reliance, I would say, of course, as Mr. Medina also showed in his slide, for example, we have a feeling and what we really communicate, and more or less, I mean, I would say not all employees, but majority would know that the process safety management started possibly with the Bhopal incidents across the globe. That was the awakening call, basically. And for India, of course, there was a big change in terms of thinking, in terms of regulations, etc. A lot of things came up. But for us at Reliance, I think the opening call was BP Texas unit, which happened in 2005. And we, I think at the management level and leadership level, there was a thought, yes, we are also equally prone to any such incident as an organization. I mean, things can go wrong. So what we need to do, and I think that where the safety excellence, we have to be really the best, one of the best in as far as safety excellence is concerned. And we got into with one of the best safety at that point of time with DuPont in 2007. We worked with them for about 4 years. And I would say that certainly brought major changes in our thinking, in our attitude, in our actions. One of the major changes has happened. Earlier the thought, okay, safety department, it's major role. But no, it is the line manager. Today, every line function people own the safety. Safety is my value system. I have to keep, wherever I am responsible and accountable, anything unsafe, simply not acceptable. So that brought, I am not saying that we have reached the high level, there's miles to go. There are a lot of improvements are needed. We still consider pipeline safety when we have cross-country, because at Reliance we have number of cross-country pipelines. Road safety, because we deal with a lot of trucks, tankers moving from our various sites to all across India. And you know, that's one area we have, I mean, still this one. Plus, overall, in terms of safety, we believe that yes, unless we do right things in the right method, I mean, certainly business profits cannot happen. One incident can make you out of business, like Union Carbide went out after 1984, and BP, we know just now some 30, 40 billion dollars as the penalty they have to pay.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Tomlin, you
So
have
very quickly, so it's a question of mindset. If we have a proactive mindset, we will be more towards beyond compliance. If we have a reactive mindset, we'll be talking about compliance. That's the way I ended.
All right. What a great way to end this. Panelists, I would like to thank you so much for your leadership in the area of safety and health, for sharing your insights this morning, and hopefully providing some inspiration for our audience here. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome. I'm sorry, a warm thank you.
Thank you, Michael,
Thank you.
for really moderating this.
Very good. We have a few gifts. Okay. Do you want to sit? Okay. Say, I have to do this. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think he wants to click photograph
We can take one together.
together. That's better.
Let me do this.
Thank you very much to our first panel. Just for the sake of timekeeping, we would like to move things,
Michael,
keep moving.
I think we'll have photograph.
Our
photograph.
next panelist, if you don't mind, we would like to have your microphone,
Photograph.
and then we will be ready to proceed.
Oh,
Just be here.
Of course, of course.
Yeah, yeah. He just, the photographer is waiting. Thank you.
Thank you.
so much.
Thanks, and we will exchange the case.
Thank you.
Yes, sure.